Okay, it's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, June 3rd, and this is the Safety Sunday broadcast of the week. We're broadcasting from the dedicated Sprinter service area of the Autonation Mercedes dealership in Marietta, Georgia. And we're going to have topical discussion of on-site services for Mercedes Sprinters, as well as some tire discussion from some DSPs that have had good experiences with tires for their operation. And they're in 4 DSP stations, so they're working in a number of areas, working with a number of kinds of tires and vans and so forth, and have some extensive experience. That'll be a little later in our broadcast. But from this particular location now, we're here to discuss from our roundtable format, our mission in terms of Safety Sunday, Advanced Truck Services, and what we're doing with on-site service. We're going to briefly touch on the factory dealership services that are on-site and available, as well as for pickup. And what you get out of a fleet assessment. It's important for us to understand what a fleet assessment is, a free fleet assessment, because it's important for us to get a handle on all of our rolling stock assets, of which are rental vans as well as the element vans. And even the element vans have Ford, you've got Mercedes here, you've got in some other locations, Dodge Rams. So it's important to have a factory service program for all rolling stock in the DSP's inventory. That's what a free fleet assessment gives you. And that can be gotten from www.safetysunday.com. If you joined and haven't gone to safetysunday.com, again, it's just getting simple information from you. Again, it's free. No obligation, but it allows you to participate in the discussion with other DSPs. Last week we had 26 attendees. It's impossible to display all the people that are on this and that are seeing this, but it's important to understand that we're getting information from DSPs and their service as well as from the factory. And it's important for the on-the-road teams who are also involved with this as well to see that we're getting useful information out there that helps us do 2 things: avoid dropped routes and get that high FICO score, right? That's what it's all about as a DSP. Don't drop routes, get high score. That's it. Amazon's made the rest fairly straightforward for everyone in the program. We're going to also discuss the automated warranty service, and that's important for both the Ford and the Mercedes Sprinters because we're seeing different, not say defects or problems, but certain drivability issues that can affect safety. And the point of this service is to get out in front of it and not have it to be a recall, which can be disruptive when you have to get a number of vans fixed in a short period of time and you're managing a fleet, not trying to do what? Drop routes. So the automatic warranty service is something that you get out of the fleet assessment, and we're going to talk about that today. And again, as I said, we're going to have some discussion from the DSP owners, some owners on today. The topic is tire safety. Okay. So as we move into this agenda, again, you're seeing Jake Doherty, the service director of the facility that we're in right now, the Autonation Mercedes-Benz of Marietta. Jake will be joining us in a little while. Autonation, as many may know or may not know, is the largest new car dealer network in the country. 360 dealerships, Mercedes, Ford, and Dodge, and more brands that are under the Autonation umbrella. But in particular, in the Atlanta region that we're focused on, DHC 1, 2, and 3, we have 2 Dodge dealerships, 2 Ford dealerships, and a very significant dedicated Sprinter facility servicing all 3 here in Marietta, Georgia. 4 collision centers also. We're doing, fairly rapid turnaround and high quality of damaged vans that are in the DSP fleet. Just turned one around out in Lawrenceville on short notice just last week. I think they took delivery Monday, so it was in 1 week. A fairly significant collision job was done there. And the service includes on-site pickup of the vans or on-site service of the vans for all mechanical and body requirements. So it's a full service that's made available through the app we'll talk about, featuring these factory dealer resources that we have here now. Again, the Autonation commitment has been comprehensive for technicians and parts for all vans. They've added technicians, they've stocked parts, They've gotten out in front of parts requested by the customer. The one that we're talking about a little later on had a request for a particular kind of tire because it performed well in their DSP routes. So Autonation went out and got more of those tires so that we could have them available on short turnaround and not have to order and wait. So in a number of cases, there are specialized requirements that the DSP has that others who own that same van do not have. And those are, again, from the fleet assessment, accommodated by Autonation. So in this case, the scheduled service plans are what we're talking about. The whole idea here is to not drop routes by being out ahead of the service requirements that everyone has. Again, for your rental vans as well, both. We've had people ask, are we doing, Merchants Fleet, Hertz, the different rental, companies that are out there? And the answer is yes. So not just Element Vans, it's the entire fleet. We also have, as part of this, what we call a pricing council. That's part of the Safety Sunday program. You'll have the opportunity to provide input into pricing, as this DSP did, in terms of what is customarily happening in each particular market. Even in one particular DSP station, certain amenities and services may not be available in another part of the same city. So Lawrenceville is definitely different than DAT3 in what I've seen here. But getting that input so we could share that input and have uniform pricing and competitive pricing everywhere is an important mission of Safety Sunday. So Safety Sunday, again, at safetysunday.com, a free resource intended to let you exchange this information with us, the dealers, and other DSPs so we can stay on time and on price. And the whole idea of the most timely service, of course, is time is money in this particular business we're in, the DSP business. So what is the Teletruck network? The Teletruck app that you get when you sign up is a single app that lets you manage fleet services. Again, it allows you to schedule on-site pickup, body and mechanical services, arrange for emergency services. We've done towing, battery replacement, and certainly, why do we call it Safety Sunday on a Wednesday? Sunday services. Weekends and Sundays are, in some cases, depending on the route you're running, a better day because the vans are parked on a parking lot and we can get out to them and fix them when in a normal day you wouldn't get them until after 5:30. So some services like on-site mobile detailing, tire changes, things that can be done on site can be done conveniently on a Sunday. And when other alternatives are not even open on a Sunday, we are. So we call this Safety Sunday. And last week, as we dedicated our first broadcast, we found everyone that did sign up for it had requested Sunday service. And so we know that's important. Again, time is money. So we're broadcasting here from the Mercedes Marietta dealership, and we're here to feature the dedicated Sprinter team. This facility that we're in, it's about 3,000 square feet and has specialized equipment. For example, you see in the picture here, a lift that allows them to actually lift a man in the air to get on top of a high-top Sprinter. Some may laugh, but when we got our first Sprinters, when they first came in, the very first week we had need for repair on the roof of a Sprinter, we took it to a place that was recommended, and they couldn't even pull the Sprinter in. They didn't even have room for it. And then we had some other incidents. This is in the fall of 2018, where the local shops did not have the correct diagnostic equipment, just weren't set up for Sprinters. The Mercedes Sprinter is a highly technical vehicle. It's a diesel. There are a number of requirements that are there for maintaining and operating a Sprinter. And so you need to have a dedicated Sprinter facility in place. This one here services all stations, DAT 1, 2, and 3, with on-site and pickup. So we have 3 vans like this one that you see here. That's one of our vans that goes on site. And each station has a dedicated van. So if you're in Smyrna, there's a dedicated van. If you're in Lawrenceville, dedicated van. Fairburn, DAT 3, dedicated van. That van is just for that station and the parking lots associated with that station. It's not mixed with anything other than DSPs, and it's strictly available on demand from that Teletruck app that we talked about. Now, the automated warranty service, which we focused last week on automated recall service. And just to recap, automatic recall service is a service that when we have your VIN numbers, when there is a recall, your service is automatically scheduled. We'll make arrangements to make sure that your routes are not disrupted and that you're able to, in a seamless way, have whatever the recall service managed. And some of the recent ones we saw for Mercedes, we had engine light on. Well, what is that? We'll talk about that. Well, in some cases, it's an exhaust gas or circulation valve. In other cases, it's valves and hoses and things you really can't see. And you wouldn't know what it was until you saw the diagnostic code, but in some cases, the code isn't there or necessarily correct all the time. So in some cases, we're having these hidden situations that we can't wait until they're an emergency and a recall to then figure them out. We need to stay ahead of them and share information within a fleet and between the fleets, and share information from the different stations and even different cities, so we can identify what's happening and fix it. And basically, these are warranty services, so essentially they're free, so that you don't drop a route or have a safety or drivability issue. So the warranty service does that. Now we're talking about the automated recall service does that. The warranty service is any services that are covered under warranty that we see in a van. And we've had everything from doors not closing correctly to drivability issues, to issues that were just a light came on, or air conditioning not working, which is important here in Atlanta. It was 91 degrees yesterday. So these functional outcomes can be caused by a number of things that are not in a recall, and just end up being the driver's on the middle of a route, the air conditioning went out. The van isn't operating correctly. And what are you going to do? Finish the route? Then you're going to sideline that van? Do you have a backup for it? It becomes a difficult situation. So what we're doing with the automated warranty service is compiling all information from all of our locations, all of our users, and sharing that information, again, through the app, and just scheduling it automatically and making it possible for you to not drop a route. That's important. We also have, and what we're saying here is this is a part of what we call a customized DSP plan. Each plan, when we have the VIN numbers, receives a schedule, like a calendar, and between that calendar and that map where the van is parked, we can look out there and see exactly what vans are due for a certain service in a month, in a week. So when you're making your route schedule a week in advance, you can see what vans should or should not be available for service, so that you don't have disruptions. So a customized DSP plan, again, is how you actually achieve this level of on-site service. Now, to get that, we have what we call an on-site fleet assessment. Again, free. Again, that's what these vans are for. And here's Jake now joining us. What we're going to do is let Jake talk a bit. I'm going to give him the headset. Jake is the service director for the Mercedes dealership here in Marietta, Georgia, and is one of the leading dealerships anywhere that I've seen. Jake will talk about some of the investments they've made recently in equipment and personnel, management staff, porters, everything you need to maintain your fleet operationally. So I'm going to hand my headset to Jake. And Jake, you can see the camera right here.
I got you. How's it going, guys? So just real quick, I'll go over a little bit about what Brian was touching on. So obviously, I think he's shown you a little bit of the shop here and some of the pictures. Obviously, we're we have the setup to take you guys in. As staff goes, we brought in 3 new people that started Monday just to be dedicated to pick up, drop off, or try to do on-site maintenance and recalls for you guys and girls. And we're dedicated to it. We got all the special equipment. I hired another Sprinter tech that's supposed to start next week, and hopefully we can get this thing going. I know that you guys' time is precious, and look forward to building a relationship with you guys. And I'll let Brian share my cell phone with you after this is all over. If you guys need anything, you feel free to call or text me, and we'll schedule it accordingly. And of course, there's the app that you can use through ATS as well. But if it's easier for you guys to pick up the phone and text me, that's fine. I'll reach out to you or answer any questions you got. And hopefully we'll be able to meet your guys' needs. I think we're going to be able to exceed your expectations. And just look forward to doing business for you guys. I'm going to hand it back over to Brian. Oh, never mind. Brian's got a question.
But we see a pattern
So basically, we saw a few. Is it okay to say the DSP? Yeah. So basically, with Palmer Logistics, we had an issue where there was an EGR recall that came out on the vans, and it's to replace a flange. We were doing these recalls for Palmer Logistics for Rick, and we were bringing it back to him, and he was having problems where the vans were intermittently driving, rough, throwing a check engine light. We brought him back. It was an intermittent issue. It was showing previously stored codes, and it was for an EGR valve. So what we've been doing for Rick is we've been going and picking one or two up at a time. If he's needed it, we're dropping off the vans that we have here for you guys so that he can still keep up with his routes. And we've been bringing him back, and I've ordered a bunch to keep in stock after we got like the first two. So right now, I think there's one that's probably on his way back that we just dropped off so that we can keep up with it. It's not a recall yet, but we've seen 4 vans in the last week and a half that have needed an EGR valve. So something you guys might see, just know that we have them here in stock. We'll come pick up and drop off for you. And like I said, Brian will share my cell phone. So if you have any of those, just let me know. I'll get you put in the system, and we'll get them taken care of for you.
What are the examples, not naming names, but the air conditioning situation, example of that, because everybody needs air conditioning. We've seen that happening.
Yeah.
And it will happen again.
Yeah, so another DSP had an issue with the air conditioner, took it into another dealership, another Mercedes dealer, and they told him that it was going to be, I think it was $2,211 to repair an AC condenser. Said that it wasn't covered under warranty. We're currently in the process. I'm dealing with my rep to try to get that taken care of for him. But just an example of, I can't promise you guys anything. Obviously, there's guidelines that we have to follow with Mercedes, but we are willing to go the extra mile and go above and beyond with you. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get this taken care of. So, if you have any problems anywhere, we understand it's hard to let go of some business or you have built relationships with other places. But if anybody drops the ball, we'll be there to pick it up and do the best we can for you.
Okay, Jake, well, I appreciate you taking
All right.
time out of your busy day. It's got to get busy in the shop right now. It's crazy. Well, thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so we do have a situation here where we have, again, as he had mentioned, dedicated resources, specialized resources, specialized equipment. And the object here is to make sure that we gather as much input as we can from each DSP, each manager, each owner, and compile that information and share it. So if one person is seeing a problem with air conditioning, it's not a recall, but we see that pattern, we're not issuing a recall, but what we're doing is looking at each vehicle that we're providing routine service for, preventative maintenance, oil changes. In this case, we've got diesel emission fluids, filters, cabin filters. They could be detailing on site. Last night, we were detailing vans on site. There are going to be 53 vans detailed by the end of today for one particular DSP and DAT3. So even when we're on site doing something like that, we can maybe check some things, or at least start to identify from the drivers any of those kinds of issues when they come back in to get the detailing and share that information. So the point of the on-site fleet assessment, it's an ongoing process. It's not just a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing that we maintain over time, and it's for all the models. It's for every Ford, every Mercedes. It's certainly for every Dodge vehicle. And we've done GMCs. Merchants Fleet had GMC vehicles, right? And so it's typically very difficult for a DSP to stay on top of all of the makes and models and all of the possible combinations of problems, but not for us. That's what this app does. That's what the service is, and that's what goes on. So all models, all services, all VIN numbers, customized DSP plans. So we wanted to run through that with everyone here, and as we move forward into the rest of our agenda, we've talked about the automatic recall service and avoiding untimely recalls. But we also want to talk about what we call PM Plus, particularly for Element vans in particular, Ford, as well as Dodge and Mercedes. What we're looking at is when you're doing a PM, preventative maintenance, what else is going on there? Well, a multi-point inspection is one. That's one reason why we talk about pickup, not just on site, because yes, you may get that oil change on site and they do that minimum and go away. but then find that there were some significant safety issues in the brake pads that you could only get by putting the van up in the air and having this level, of equipment dedicated just for your van. And that's something you don't get on site. So as you can see, we have the on-site service, but the timely preventative maintenance service, at least according to the schedule that we have, is crucial, because we're seeing wheel alignments, right, that would be avoided. Those are customer pay. That's coming out of your pocket if you're an owner, right? We're seeing excessive tire wear, which is that comes from the wheel alignment, also comes from not rotating the tires correctly. We're seeing people changing tires on site and then finding that they had not actually rotated the tires, and so they changed one or two tires and in fact actually caused excessive wear on the other tires because they were just trying to do what needed to be done in an expedient way. Whereas if we're doing the PMs, the PM Plus means we're taking care of the whole van and taking advantage of the fact that if we're going to do it right that time. Again, that's just included in the service. That's not an extra cost. And in other cases, and in some previous cases that we had, that was a cost. There was a cost associated with that. But this is included, right? Another aspect of something that we've been working on, especially with the COVID virus, everyone's wearing masks and so forth, is this full cabin detailing and disinfecting. It's very important to understand in the COVID world, the virus can cling to surfaces inside air conditioning ducts, right? In fact, I was in a hotel. They're cleaning those ducts daily because within hotels, restaurants, enclosed areas, the air conditioning is a primary conductor of the virus, right? So someone may be driving a van, sneeze, get out. You don't see it. You're cleaning it with your Clorox wipes or whatever you've got, but the virus is right there clinging under a surface that's invisible to the naked eye. So to be able to disinfect that van completely and have it last for at least, say, 3 or 4 days or more, or maintain it, that's something that we offer. That's part of the PM Plus. So to be able to get out in front of these disinfecting and detailing requirements is something that comes along. And so part of the preventative maintenance is that as well. So it's not just oil changes anymore and brakes and tires. It's keeping the cabin disinfected and safe for the drivers. That's an important part of Safety Sunday. And so coming on site on a Sunday and disinfecting the cabin of the van and making sure that it's consistently not only disinfected, but there's a log kept of how it's been disinfected and the materials used and all of that other stuff, the consistency of the disinfecting and sharing that with the drivers and everyone else is an important part of safety for the drivers, right? So what are we saying when we're talking about these detailing offers and putting all these things together? What's important here is that you actually end up saving in the customer pay portion when we're managing all of the things that are done, all of the things that are done paid for by, say, Element or Merchant's Fleet, third-party bills. When you are using our services, we're keeping points and tracking them, which reduces your cost of the customer pay items. So you might get this take tire special here, and you might get this oil change special there. But over time, our objective, as we said, in not dropping routes and maintaining that high FICO score is obviously maintaining the DSP's profitability over time. And over time, by allowing us and the app and all of us collectively as a team to manage these things, we can get our arms around those things to spend money on, because that collision that gentleman had initially, like his first day, we took it in, well, that helps him, right? Bringing that through Autonation helps us overall. It's just more points that help him with detailing or, customer pay aspects of a preventative maintenance program. So collectively, your overall cost of operation and ownership goes down over time to the point where it's not necessarily a competitive option to go and do one or two things outside of that framework. So savings on customer pay was an important agenda item. And last, as we said, the one-stop Sunday services. We've had a great deal of requests for those services on site. These vans, again, these vehicles that we have are dedicated to those services, including on-site services. We're scheduling those services now. We're performing those services now. And they will come basically on a priority basis based on the fleet assessment. And we will be scheduling the availability of those services according to, again, the points that we talked about, and also the urgency of the service that's required. So if someone needs someone to come on site and change some tires because they're, at a critical safety point, that's going to be a priority. But overall, we're setting it up to handle every parking lot in all 3 stations in Atlanta. I understand more are coming online. As more stations come online, we'll be servicing them as well. This program is being designed to handle basically every area of Amazon, all of the stations in the country. And again, that's why having 360 Autonations, and then I don't know how many body shops, I don't know how many they've got in there, at least probably another 100 of those around the country. Why that matters, because it gives us a footprint in those other markets. But in Atlanta, for your particular station and for your particular program, the idea is to make sure you have all the resources you need when you need them, again, to avoid dropped routes and to keep your FICO sky high. So one of the other things that we're looking at, and a topic for next week, because we've had that as an item a lot of people asked for this week, is the on-site tire service. And tires, as you know, you can go through tires in 5,000 or 6,000, 7,000 miles, depending on the van and the routes that are being run and so forth. And in particular, again, I'm from Detroit, so in the northern areas, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, the tires could hit a pothole, and you might have a tire that you just got, and you've got a tire job, you've got a rim problem, right? So staying on top of tires has been something that we've seen as one of the most frequently asked requests. We're going to dig a little deeper into what it means to have a 10-ply tire, the difference between the Michelin and the Cooper, the difference between, why certain tires cost more, and also the Autonation tire replacement policy. It's a policy that within a certain number of miles, if something's wrong with the tire, it's replaced. That's not necessarily commonly available everywhere. So we're going to be talking about that some more as time goes by. But one last thing, and then we're going to wrap it up for this particular session. We have what we call the non-paint body repair. That is coming on site for dents and scrapes and scratches. We're seeing in many cases when you go out to a lot of vans, no pun intended, that have been bumped and scratched, but it's not risen to the level of taking it into a body shop because you can't take that van out of service for a day or more. What are you going to do? Well, before they pull it out, from your route, or before it becomes an issue, or before you're negotiating what DOT requires or not, or if it's a tail light or a rear view mirror, we're gearing up to do those just on site. Rear view mirrors, tail lights, little fender bumper scrapes, little sensors that are in those that are important, cameras that are in there. It may look like something small, but in fact the camera is out because that was part of the van. Or we're finding, in one case, sensors in the bumper affect the drivability of the van. Well, you wouldn't know that because that's not something you would see. It's invisible to the eye. But in fact, coming on site, getting inside the bumper, fixing it, that's something that can be done on a Sunday on site. So these are the kinds of services that we're identifying and scheduling for that service plan that we talked about, customized for each DSP. And we're walking everyone through when they sign up for the program, each of those things that we talk about. The fleet assessment takes about 15 minutes. You're actually providing that information. When you go to safetysunday.com, you're routed to it. We'll follow back up with you, do that over the phone at first, then come on site and actually look at your vans, actually identify what we think is going on, and by each VIN number, give you recorded service history and the projected planned service history. So we've managed each of these things ourselves across the country. We were in 11 DSP stations for a long time, and it was very difficult between Dallas, Chicago, Miami, and Cleveland to have consistent operation. So we learned from that experience, and we're delivering that experience on a daily basis through fantastic facilities like this. The Ford Union City, Autonation Ford, that's the highest volume dealership in the state of Georgia. We're providing excellent on-site service as well. And we even have a Toyota service, the facility in Beaufort servicing Lawrenceville, but in fact now tying in with Autonation Ford and also with this Mercedes operation here, for providing timely service in the Lawrenceville area. So that concludes our broadcast for today. Our time was to 2:30. p.m. We're going to stay available because we understand there's some people joining us from Lawrenceville as well after this particular meeting is over. So we're going to stay online for the Lawrenceville attendees and repeat some of this content again. But for everyone that did attend, we appreciate your attendance. We'll be following up with you individually and personally. This will be recorded. We'll share the recording with you and with your Under the Road team and Amazon who is watching the adoption of this program. And we thank everyone for attending. Be safe.